بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد باب النهي عن التزعفر للرجال وبه قال حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا عبد الوارث عن عبد العزيز عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يتزعفر الرجل صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك. Tonight, inshallah, we will talk about mainly two things: wearing of a certain color and also applying of certain colors on the body. As I briefly mentioned, tonight's talk will be about the colors in clothing, which are permissible and which are not permissible for Muslims. When it comes to colors, for women, almost every color is allowed. They're allowed to wear pink, they're allowed to wear red, they are allowed to wear all other colors. However, for men, there are some restrictions. In general, the ruling is that every color is a permissible color. However, there are some limitations to this generality. And those restrictions and those limitations come from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those restrictions are based on some statements and some verdicts coming directly from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, even those restrictions and those limitations are such that they are not unanimous. Because of the nature of the evidence that proves those restrictions and limitations, those restrictions and limitations are still open to debate, are still open to difference of opinion, and therefore they are not unanimous. And I will talk more about that in detail as we go forward in this talk, inshallah. So in general, every color is allowed. In preference, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam preferred white over every other color. The most beloved color in dress to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was white. And therefore he instructed the companions as well and the believers to prefer white over other colors. So white is the best. And besides the white, there are almost every other color that's permissible: blue, black, off-white, any color that is there, it's almost permissible with the exception of a few. And tonight we're going to talk about the exceptions, inshallah. So the general rule is that any color that's there is permissible except the ones that have been restricted through the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we're going to talk about that, inshallah. So Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi, he gave the title to this subchapter, Bab al-Nahi an al-Taza'furi lil-Rijal. Chapter in regard to the forbiddance from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for men on wearing saffron color. So any clothes that have saffron color, those clothes are not allowed for men. But here, Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi did not mention whether it's about clothing or the application of color on the body. So when it comes to the color, there are colors on the clothes, and then there are colors for the body as well. Like people use henna, or some people use they dye their hair or dye their beard, or apply other forms of dye on their body or on their clothes. So that's another discussion. Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi did not specify whether this command to forbid applies to the colors of the clothes or the colors applied to the body. Now the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that is narrated by Anas radiyallahu anhu says, "Nahan Nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wasallam an yataza'far al-rajul." That the Prophet ﷺ forbade a man from using the saffron color. Imam Ibn Hajar rahmatullahi alayhi, who's one of the commentators of Sahih al-Bukhari, he said that this restriction applies to the body. So you're not allowed to apply the saffron color to the body. Whether you're allowed to apply the saffron color to the clothes or not, that's a discussion that's coming next, inshallah. So in this discussion, the only thing that's basically mentioned here is that a man should not apply saffron color to his body parts, to hands, to arms, to feet, or to the face, or to the neck. So applying the saffron color to the body is one thing that's forbidden. Again, as I mentioned before, that this is not unanimous. So there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi is of that opinion, who believes that it is allowed, and the reason, and the scholars have also disagreed on the reason why it's not allowed. Is it not allowed because of the smell, the fragrance, or is it not allowed because of the color? So the reason behind the prohibition is either color or the smell, the fragrance. And if it is fragrance, then is it because this fragrance normally is used by women and not by men? So the reason basically would be tashabbuh bin nisa, imitating women. And men are not allowed to imitate women in their clothing, in their dressing, in their ornaments. Men have their own dress code and women have their own dress code. Likewise, women are not allowed to imitate men. So men should not wear shoes that are exclusively used by women. Likewise, men should not wear clothes that are exclusively used by women. The concept of unisex clothing is different. Unisex clothing is that which can be worn by a man or by a woman. That's different. But we're talking about those clothes that are exclusively used by one gender. So if there is a dress that is exclusively used by men, then women should not use it. And if there's a dress that is exclusively used by women, then men should not use it. So that's one reasoning, that it may be an imitation to women. The other is the fragrance, the smell. So saffron does have a good smell, and for some reason Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not allow the application of saffron for men on their bodies. Women are allowed to apply it, women are allowed to use it, but men are not allowed to use it. So this is, either way, the restriction is only for men and not for women. So this is about the body. So on the body, you should not use the color that's saffron or even the fragrance that's saffron. The next is Bab al-Thawb al-Muza'far, the chapter about the clothes that have been dyed with saffron, dipped in saffron. So those clothes are now allowed for men or not? Let's see the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The hadith is narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. He says, نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يلبس المحرم ثوبا مصبوغا بورس أو بزعفران. That Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade the muhrim, a person who is in the state of ihram, making hajj or umrah, that he should wear anything that has been dyed with saffron or wars. Wars is also another kind of plant similar to saffron, and that also gives color and smell. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not allow a person who is wearing ihram that he should have any of his clothing dyed in saffron or in wars. So this hadith clearly says that this is not allowed for a person who is in ihram. When you are in ihram, what do you wear? Men. You're wearing basically two sheets. You're having a sheet to cover your lower part of the body, and you're having another sheet to cover the upper part of your body. So you have these two sheets of clothing. And this is called ihram. So when you are in the state of ihram, this is the only thing that you're using. You're not using any undergarments, you're not using any jackets, you're not using any kufi, you're not using anything else. Now, these things also should not be dyed with saffron or with wars. And based on this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the part of the agreement that's unanimous is that, the part of the understanding amongst the scholars that's unanimous is that muhrim should not use that. A person who's wearing ihram should not be allowed, should not be using any garments that are dyed in saffron or in wars. However, does that restriction and limitation extend to those who are not in ihram? That's a part of the discussion that's debated, and that's subject to a difference of opinion. So amongst the scholars, amongst the four scholars, Imam Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam Ahmad, Imam Malik, and Imam Abu Hanifa, there are some who say that since the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is only for the muhrim, therefore those people who are not in ihram, they are allowed to dye their clothes in saffron or in wars. Because the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is applying the restriction only to the person wearing ihram. However, other scholars like Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi and Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, they believe that this restriction extends to non-muhrim as well. One who's not wearing ihram, it applies to those people as well, based on some other ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. They're not mentioned here. So those other ahadith are mentioned in Sunan Abi Dawood, also in Sunan At-Tirmidhi, and other collections of ahadith. And in those ahadith, it is mentioned that Rasulullah ﷺ did not allow the use of saffron dye or worse dye for even a person who's not in the state of ihram. So for the person who's in the state of ihram, this restriction is very clear and straightforward. And for the person who's not in the state of ihram, that restriction, according to Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi and others, come from other ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ that are not in Sahih al-Bukhari. So this much we have learned here as well, that this restriction does extend, according to Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi and Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, to other people as well who are not in the state of ihram. That means that they should not have their shirts or their pants or their jackets dyed in saffron or worse either. Now, Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, his opinion is that it is allowed. And he is open in his view, and he's clear. His opinion is very well documented, very well established. and very well evidenced as well, that it is permissible for those who are not in the state of ihram to dye their clothes with saffron or with worse. Now, according to the scholars, there are multiple opinions as to the reasoning why it's not allowed. And as I mentioned in the previous discussion as well, that according to many scholars, this is due to the strong color that comes from the saffron. If you dye something in saffron, it has a very bright, luminous yellow color. It's very shiny, very bright. And normally, it was used by women. So if it was used by women, and if it was just a cultural thing, then the ruling will change as well if the culture changes. Because some rulings in Islam are based on a custom of a time. So if the custom changes, then that ruling will subsequently change as well. So if the reasoning behind this restriction of the Prophet ﷺ that men should not dye their clothes in saffron is because women used to do it, so Rasulullah ﷺ did not want men imitating women or men looking like women, dressing like women, then if that custom changes, if that culture changes in some place, then the ruling will subsequently change as well. So if in some country or in some culture or in some place, women are not really exclusively wearing saffron color clothing, and it is considered a unisex color, or it is a color that's not always used by women, but it is used commonly by all kinds of people, then that reasoning basically has been removed, and therefore that ruling will be removed as well. That ruling will be abrogated as well. And if the reasoning is because of the smell, if the saffron smell is what Rasulullah ﷺ did not want for men, if the fragrance of saffron is what Rasulullah ﷺ did not want for men, and that stays there forever, then that's again that the ruling will stay as well. Now, if the ruling was because of the fragrance, and the fragrance is gone, somehow you keep the color, but you don't keep the smell of that. You don't keep the fragrance of saffron. Then the ruling will change as well. Again, if the ruling is based on that. The last is about the red. So there are basically two colors that Rasulullah ﷺ did not like for men. One is the saffron color, which is also yellowish, and the other one is sufra. Sufra is also deep yellow or heavy dark yellow. That's also another color that Rasulullah ﷺ did not like for men. The next is the red color. So we're not going to talk about blue, we're not going to talk about black, we're not going to talk about pink, we're not going to talk about all those colors, because we don't find any particular statements coming from the Prophet ﷺ regarding those colors. The statements that we do have is about the yellow color, it's about the saffron color and the waras, and also about the red color. So let's see the red color. The hadith is narrated by Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu. He says, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مربوعا. The word marbu' means, it comes from rubu'. And the word marbu' means medium. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was medium height. He was not too tall and he was not too short. He was medium height. But when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would stand among the crowd, among other people, he would always be seen very clearly, and he would seem to be taller than everybody else. In reality, he was not. He was not taller than every other person. His height was medium height. So that's what Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu says about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's height. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مربوعا. That the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had medium height. وقد رأيته في حلة حمراء. And he says that I saw the Prophet ﷺ in a red dress. Hulla is a dress, and Hamra means red. So he said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ in a red dress. مَا رَأَيْتُ شَيْئًا أَحْسَنَ مِنْهُ. And I had never seen anything more beautiful than the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ was looking even more beautiful, more handsome in that red dress. Because Rasulullah ﷺ was very white, his color was beautiful, bright color. And when he would wear red color, then his color would shine even more and become even more vibrant and more bright, more visible. So Bara ibn Azib radiallahu anhu says that when I saw the Prophet ﷺ in that red dress, it was so beautiful, I had never seen anything more beautiful than that. More beautiful than the Prophet ﷺ in red dress. So the Prophet ﷺ basically looked more beautiful in red dress. And the Prophet ﷺ always smelled good. He always wore clean clothes. Even if they were not new, they were always clean. The Prophet ﷺ was never observed wearing dirty clothes. That's something that I can never find in this vast collection of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I can never find a single statement coming from anyone, even those who did not like the Prophet ﷺ, even the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ. I cannot find a single statement saying that the Prophet ﷺ was wearing dirty clothes. Yes, I do find that the Prophet ﷺ's clothes became filled with blood when he got injured, when he got wounded. But I have never come across a statement where I could see that the Prophet ﷺ was wearing dirty clothes with stains on them, or all kinds of smell and dirt on them. Rasulullah ﷺ was the purest of all. And he always wore clean clothes, pure clothes. His clothes were never najis. His clothes were never impure, never dirty. So the Prophet ﷺ used to wear different colors. Mostly he wore white color. He preferred white over other colors. But sometimes he wore other colors as well. And among those other colors that he sometimes wore is this red color. So the red dress Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing. Now this is one incident mentioned here by Bara ibn Azib radiallahu anhu, but there are other ahadith by different Sahaba who also observed the Prophet ﷺ in a red dress. And some also mentioned that even when Rasulullah ﷺ was in Mina after the Hajj, he was wearing a red shawl on his body as well. So Rasulullah ﷺ has many times wore a red dress. And red dresses normally would be imported from Yemen. They were not manufactured or woven in Arabia, in Hijaz. They were normally imported from Yemen. And in Yemen, they had this industry where they were very skilled in woven these kind of clothes. So many times Rasulullah ﷺ would receive a gift or something like that, and he would wear it. And red would specifically come from Yemen. So now, according to this hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ, we find no problem in wearing red color, because Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing that. But the problem is that the scholars do not agree. The scholars have difference of opinion. There are nearly 7 different opinions on this issue. Only one opinion is that it is allowed under all circumstances. All kinds of red color, whether it's bright red, light red, dark red, all kinds of red color is allowed for men under all circumstances. There's one opinion. And many Sahaba believed in that, and many scholars believe in that as well. But there are 6 other opinions. So the second opinion is that some scholars believe that it should not be allowed at all. And their view is, apart from this hadith, they provide their justification of why Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing red color. And I will mention that. But their view is based on some other incidents in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, where it is reported that someone came to the Prophet ﷺ and he was wearing red color, and the Prophet ﷺ instructed him to either wash the red color or to remove the red color. And some similar incidents that happened that are reported in other books of ahadith. So what is their understanding of this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he's clearly reported to have used red color clothing? He was wearing red color clothes. They say that Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing red color, but it was not 100% red. It was mixed with some other colors. So another opinion is that if the red color is mixed with any other color, then it's permissible. But if it's 100% pure red color, then it's not allowed. So that's the third opinion. And the fourth opinion is that some scholars say that if the red color was added to the fabric before it was woven, before it was turned into a cloth, then it is permissible. But if the dyeing of red color came after the designing of the cloth, after the fabrication of the cloth, then it's not allowed. And then they go back to the history. They say in Yemen, the way they used to manufacture these clothes, they used to apply the red color before they would stitch it, before they would weave the threads into the cloth. And that's what Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing. So that's another opinion. Another opinion is that it is makruh to wear a red dress under normal circumstances, and it is permissible if there is a need for it. And another opinion among scholars is that it is not allowed for those who want to wear it to show off to people or to feel that they are better than other people. So in other words, to feel arrogant. So if some people wear it because they feel arrogant, they feel better than other people by wearing red color, then it's not allowed for them. And those who do not, it's allowed for them. And the final opinion is that, and that's the opinion of Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi as well, and some other scholars, that there's nothing wrong with wearing this color or even the colors that are mentioned previously, saffron color and even the yellow color, if you wear it just within the house. So within the house you can wear basically any color. There's nothing wrong with that. But outside of the house, you should not wear those colors that may be exclusive to women. And that's again the opinion, many scholars. I personally, after doing an investigation of all these opinions, I personally believe that if Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing red color, Rasulullah ﷺ would not even go for a color that had some problem. Even if the problem was 1%, he would not do it. So if Rasulullah ﷺ was wearing this color, and there are many other reports that strengthen this hadith and this stance of the ulama as well, then there's nothing wrong in wearing red color. Red color is allowed for men and it is allowed for women. And there shouldn't be any objection to that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to practice Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Any questions? Dr. Arif was wearing a red sweater.
So when you say about red, if you take the opinion that it's not permissible, is it the complete thing should not be red? For example, wearing pants and a shirt. The shirt is red, and the pants are like black.
Anything that's whole, like a whole piece, like a pant is a whole piece, a shirt is a whole piece. If there are like patches, then nobody will object to that. But if the whole thing is red, like a whole jacket or whole pant or shirt some scholars will object to that. But again, I believe the majority of scholars, have no objection to that. Yes? Huh? Red coat? Thobe. If you can find one, yes, you can wear it. I've never seen one actually. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك عدد معلوماتك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاكم الله.